helpful for all of you that are coming. And I want to remind you that you can go to the console. I want you to get familiar with the console, the GoToWebinar console, because you can download the handout there, and we'd like you to download that handout for the promo webinar on November 3rd. It's there in your console. And what you can do when you download that handout is you right-click on it, and then you can print it, or you can save it on the computer. And just one other thing that we want to remind you of is that there is also a question window on the console, so be aware of that, because as we go through, if you have questions, then you can go ahead and type them in, and we will definitely answer them at the end of the program, or we will get back to you with any of your comments or anything that you need to be told. So we'll let the people pop on and log in, and then remember to go get your handout, and we'll be starting in 2 or 3 minutes. Delighted to have each one of you with us. Several more have popped on and have logged in, so I just want to remind those people that just logged in that you can go to the handout, the block of your GoToWebinar console there, and download the handout. And what you do is right-click, and that will help you print it or save it to your computer. It will open up in a PDF. So make sure you do that so you can follow along and fill in the blanks. And we'll be starting in another couple of minutes. We're going to officially be starting in another couple of minutes, but I want to tell those that have just logged in that you can go to your console, your GoToWebinar console, and download the handout. So make sure you do that so you can follow along and fill in the blanks. It's just a handout for a promo webinar on November 3rd. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. We've had several more people join us, and for those that just joined, I want to have you go to the handout for promo webinar. If you'll get familiar with the console on your GoToWebinar console there, then go ahead and download the handout, because you can follow along on the handout and fill in some of the blanks. It also gives you links to outside sources that we have, to a couple of articles and to the website. And so download that, and remember that there is a questions block also. So as we go through the webinar and questions come into your mind, make sure that you put them into that block, and then at the end of the webinar, we will answer your questions, or we will get back to you either way. And we'll be starting in about 1 minute. I believe it is time to start. So today we would like to welcome you to the Leadership of One, 21st Century Skills for Facilitating Discretionary Effort. And believe me when I say, in the 21st century, the company with the most discretionary effort will win in the marketplace. Discretionary effort improves innovation, fosters collaboration, and delivers the highest standard in customer service. Before we get started on our content, we want to briefly introduce ourselves to you since we have attendees from around the world who have never met myself or Doug. My name is Carla Brando, and I founded my own company in 1986 for the express purpose of helping companies build strong teams and be more productive and efficient in every aspect of their business. You can read more about me at www.carlabrando.com or find me on LinkedIn. That's Carla with a K. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia, with excellent flights to anywhere in the world if you want to fly Delta. Doug?
Thanks, Carla, and welcome everybody. My name is Douglas Ross. I have spent my entire professional life working to transform people and organizations. My passion is integrity in people, systems, and companies. I am located in Toronto, a little place just north of the United States of America with lots of wilderness and snow. Delta flies here, so does Air Canada.
If you look closely at the slide on your screen, you will see the subhead of our book is 5 Leadership Levels to Create a Culture of Extraordinary Employee Contribution and Competitive Advantage. We believe that as you build a culture of employee contribution, you will gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace, and we could all use that. Now, as I said before we started, be sure you've downloaded the handout so you can follow along and fill in the blanks. And it's right there on your GoToWebinar console. Also, make sure you find the questions window so you can ask questions.
We invite you to join the 21st Century Worldwide Discretionary Effort Leadership Initiative. If you do, you will become the leader people choose to follow, not the leader people have to follow because of your position in an org chart.
Can you dig deep into the recesses of your mind and think of a time during your work life when you had a manager that you would have done almost anything for? Stay late, come in early, work on Saturday, fall on the sword for, so to speak. If you identify the qualities that leader possessed, you may come up with empathetic, willing to correct your human errors, because we all make them, honest and ethical, a good listener, able to give clear instructions, and the list could go on and on. What I'll bet did not come to your mind when you think of a leader you admire is dictatorial, over-controlling, or judgmental. If any of the positive words mentioned came to mind, you have identified some of the qualities it takes to be a 21st century leader. Doug and I want to help you understand the environment of the 21st century leadership so you can become an exceptional leader, a leader that people choose to follow.
So the question is, what is a 21st century leader? And more importantly, how do I become that leader? Bill George in the Harvard Business Review helps us answer these questions in his article, The New 21st Century Leader. He says, I'll read it and you can read it yourself. We know the ultimate measure of effectiveness for leaders is the ability to sustain superior results over an extended period of time. Organizations filled with aligned, empowered teams and collaborative employees focused on serving customers will outperform hierarchical top-down organizations every time. Top-down leaders may achieve near-term results, but only authentic leaders can help galvanize the entire organization to sustain long-term performance.
That's an outstanding quote. And as you know, this statement is on your handout, so refer to that as we dissect these concepts for you just a little bit. And if you jumped on just a little bit late, the handout is in your console, your GoToWebinar console. So just right-click on it and you can download it or open it or print it, either one you want. On point number 1, we learned that long ago, empowered teams, that goes in the first blank there, outperform top-down authoritarian organizations every time. Why? Because team members who are aligned with organizational objectives and collaborate, meaning they let go of their egos and stop holding ideas and critical information close to the vest, saying goes, those people become teams that are creative and teams that solve nagging marketplace problems with innovative solutions. It has been my experience that products and services can always be improved. And to improve their status quo, employees must give discretionary effort.
Thank you, Carla. I really love the quote where Bill George said, "A 21st century leader is, or 21st century leaders are authentic leaders who galvanize the whole entire organization." You've heard about authentic leadership, and everyone knows we need it and we want it. We want to follow authentic leaders, but we don't know ourselves how to become an authentic leader. Authentic means real, of undisputed origins, and not a copy. The problem is that today's hierarchical top-down organizations encourage leadership copies and not authenticity. So how do you become an authentic leader? The one people choose to follow when you work in organizations that want a copy and not the original. The secret is learning about discretionary effort. Discretionary effort is free and infectious. It is the type of energy you have when you're doing things you love and when you're doing it because it feels right within you. It is the type of energy that comes from being able to speak your truth freely without worry. It is the type of energy that comes when you feel people accept you for who you are with your strengths and weakness. Finally, it is the type of energy that comes when you make an outstanding contribution to something or someone important and you feel good. Discretionary effort is the result of being authentic, and we're inviting you to study the result so you can become the cause.
Great information, Doug. Now, I'm sure all of you who are on the webinar with us picked up that authentic goes in the blank on point 2. Now, to balance the deep thinking of Bill George, we're going to use some common sense wisdom from one of America's favorite philosophers, Charlie Brown. As Lucy is providing advice for Charlie Brown, she says, "Maybe I can put it another way. Life, Charlie Brown, is like a deck chair." Like a what? Have you ever been on a cruise? Passengers open up these deck chairs so they can sit in the sun. Some people place their chairs facing the rear of the ship so they can see where they've been. Other people face their chairs forward. They want to see where they're going. On the cruise ship of life, Charlie Brown, which way is your deck chair facing? Charlie Brown replies, "I've never been able to get one unfolded." Having little mechanical ability, I relate to Charlie Brown.
That's great, Carla, and I think it's so true. Every one of us is on the cruise ship of life, and every one of us is struggling in our own way to get the decks chairs open. Actually, this is a really good real-world analogy. Every one of us wants to work in an organization that is going to new and exotic places, like your cruise ship. Everyone wants an organization that looks and acts like a cruise ship. And of course, everyone wants customers who act like they're taking a cruise with you. We want to add value. We want to go somewhere special. We want our organizations to look good. We want to be on an exciting adventure, and we want satisfied customers who brag to their friends about their experience with us. We want to look good in our and everyone else's eyes. Unfortunately, in the real world, we are entering the 21st century is not just about appearances. Looking good isn't good enough anymore. You need to be good. Being good is authentic. Look at this beautiful picture of the ship. Who wouldn't want to be on this ship, in this company? And more importantly, who wouldn't want to have the customer experience? Hidden below this magnificent image are thousands of employees who work long hours at low wages. If these employees are just doing their job and giving minimal effort, you have a major problem, Charlie Brown. Today's customers see through their experiences with the company to the truth. If the employees are just doing enough to keep their job, then the customers know the company is not genuine, not original, not the real deal. The company is focused on looking good instead of being good. This is just not good enough anymore. Discretionary effort is about doing more with less. It's about adding value and enjoying your passion at work. It's about looking and being good. Discretionary effort is not new. We use it all the time. We just don't always apply it at work because we don't think we can. Discretionary effort is about sitting at the front of the cruise ship during off hours because you've been invited there by the customers. Discretionary effort is not employees huddled on the back of the cruise ship, talking about problems and concerns and wondering why things aren't working well.
On your handout, we have a very important question for you. Where do your employees place their deck chairs? On the bow of the ship, the stern, or do they spend most of their time in their cabins? We can help your company get your employees actively engaged, not passively sitting at the back of the cruise ship in their deck chairs, resting on their laurels about past accomplishments, but not worried one whit about what the future holds. Not that employees won't use the deck chairs, because they will. Employees need breaks, and they will have time to use the deck chairs when their shift ends. Plus, it is important for them to have somewhere to sit if a customer asks them a question. It is critical that your employees enjoy the cruise as much as your customers, so they give exceptional customer service that makes your customers want to sign up for another cruise. Doug, along with this analogy to the cruise ship and deck chairs, you told me a story about a manager that used a furnace as an illustration. I'm sure that furnace didn't look as cute as this little guy, but can you share that experience with us?
I can promise you, Carla, the furnace didn't look that cute. I was the manager of HR in a heating and air conditioning company, and I had a director of operations who ran the ship. I wanted to sit in the front of the ship, but this director wouldn't let me. I think he believed HR was a below-the-deck group. One day I asked him how I could really help him in the area of training. He told me he would show me how training should be done. Sure enough, a week later he called me and my entire staff into a room for 2-hour training sessions. At the front of the room, he had 3 different furnaces with no brand logos on them. He stood up and said, "I want to show you something about our business." He then asked 3 of his employees to remove the covers of all the furnaces to reveal what is inside of them. He asked us to inspect the furnaces, and we all got up and gathered around that. After we were done, he asked what the difference was in the 3 products. It was really obvious there was no significant difference in design and parts. He then asked his employees to get up again and asked them to take a few of the component parts out and put them on the table so we could inspect them, and we did. By this time, we knew enough that which one of the furnaces was ours. And then at that point, the director explained that the other furnaces were who their competitors were. He then asked me to explain the price point of each furnace. We were by far the most expensive in the marketplace, followed by a medium price point and a low-end furnace. He then asked me to explain, by just looking at the parts, why we were charging more. I couldn't answer the question, as all 3 furnaces were essentially the same. It was immediately obvious to me that we had no good reason to charge more. He then said, the customers will find this out very quickly. They will find out they can get the same type of service at a lower cost, and we'll be in trouble. I asked him what we needed to do. Do we need to reduce costs, better marketing? He smiled at me. He said, our only competitive difference is our people and their energy. We need every one of them to come to work each day and add value. We need them to find 1,000 different ways to reduce cost, improve the throughput, and improve our quality. And we need authenticity in our leaders so the employees want to work here, add value, and do the things that we're asking them. This man had defined discretionary effort in my mind for the first time, and the role of leadership. He was and is a leader I choose to follow to this day.
Thank you, Doug. The statement that you have 1,000 people looking for ways to reduce cost is an incredible concept, and I think we can all understand how that would improve the value of every company. Now, to help you become the leader people choose to follow, Doug and I are starting a 21st Century Leadership Coaching and Mentoring Program beginning in January. This is a 4-month program delivered in webinars, group and individual coaching sessions, plus email and phone access to me and to Doug. You can learn more by going to www.discretionaryeffortleadership.com the leadership of one. And as a thank you for attending the webinar today, you will get a 20% discount. When you register, just enter the code DEMO216. We also offer on-site training, so if you're interested in that, you can download the discretionary effort promo and the description of modules for companies in the same block where you downloaded the handout.
So the question now is, why is this training program important to you? Why is the leadership of one important? First of all, in our world, engagement has run its course. It's taught us a lot, but there is a new adventure out there for all of us. Engagement as a major strategy has made its mark, but all the literature is pointing out it just doesn't work the way people envisioned. In fact, it is becoming an entitlement as expected. It is then losing its effectiveness and in some cases even decreasing productivity. Now, if you see this happening in organizations, the next step for you is to build on what you have by adding in the dimension of discretionary effort. It is your catalyst.
Before we go to bullet number 2, make sure you filled in the blanks on page 1 of the handout under the subhead Engagement and Discretionary Effort. The first blank is engagement techniques are becoming an entitlement. And number 4, discretionary effort leadership is the key to 21st century leadership. Doug and I really believe that. And now for point 2, one fact that research validates is that people do not leave their company because they don't like their work. They leave because they can't get along with their immediate supervisor. And when your good people leave, they walk out the door with the thousands of dollars you spent hiring and training them. And they leave with their creative ideas and suggestions to improve your company. And then they use those ideas to improve another company, probably your competitor. Now, are you wondering what the leadership of one means? However, the most important question for you to ask is, who is the one? This phrase comes from an experience Doug had several years ago, and I've asked him to share the interaction he had with a manager and the management team he was supporting.
This comes from a statement a senior director from the the national corporate office came, and he ended up asking us this key question, or stating this: you have only one person to lead. I was helping the senior team of a multinational transform their culture. We were flatlined. That means we weren't making significant progress as an organization. Neither were we falling behind. We were profitable, but we were cruising. At the end of the meeting with the senior director, he asked each one of us, each of the senior team, what we thought was the #1 problem in our organization. Each one of the leaders got up and gave their answer. At the end, he thanked everyone. Then he paused, and he added this statement. He said, "We have a leadership problem." And that's all he said. And he left the room with nothing more. Everybody in the room was stunned. What happened next confirmed his conclusion, but the team couldn't see it. The silos in the organization got together to discuss the statement internally among themselves. I was able to attend these meetings. I asked these people what the leader really meant by this question or statement. Each one of them said it was his way to get the team ready for one of them being fired. Because of that, each one of them was putting together their jumping into survival mode, protecting their own kingdoms and building allies to help each other. This time, I was stunned. In the next meeting, he asked everyone individually what they thought about and did with the conclusion about the leadership problem. Dutifully, each of the leaders got up and explained what they were doing within their organization to be better. Again, when it was all over, he thanked them nicely. He then said again that the company was flatlined. We were profitable, but we're not making significant growth. He said, "This is our leadership problem. Things have changed in our business," he went on. "If we can't adapt, we will not survive. If we keep doing the same thing we're doing, then we will get the same results. Guys," he said, "you still don't understand. We have the problem. All of you justify and rationalize your positions, and you're waiting around to see who I'm going to fire. I'm not going to fire anyone. Firing is not the answer, because we'll get someone in here who will just do the same thing as we're all doing. Guys, he said, and when I say guys, there was female people on the team, so I'm just using that as a statement, the way I speak. We have a leadership problem. We are all in new territory. Each of us is in a different part of that territory. You are the one. You are the person. Each one of you must find your way through your territory. You have only one person to lead. When you do this, you will learn what works and what doesn't work in the new territory. Each of you has a different part of the puzzle to bring to the table. Once you do what you need and learn what you need to do, then we together can do what we need to do as an organization. By the way, this conversation wasn't finished with this statement. Over the next couple of weeks, the leader went on to talk to us about you only have one person to lead. We will have that discussion about what he talked about when you join us in the Leadership of One coaching sessions.
That's a powerful concept and a powerful story, Doug. And if you who are listening to us today become the one and choose to go into that new territory that Doug talked about and lead yourself, you will become the leader people choose to follow, not the person they have to follow because of their place on the org chart. Now, when Doug and I started working on the concepts that emerged as discretionary effort leadership, we both realized that discretionary effort is a gift. Managers model discretionary effort by giving the gift of discretionary effort on a daily basis or by leading the one themselves. And by doing so, they earn the gift of discretionary effort from employees. So the gift goes both ways, because employees see and model or imitate what they observe, and there is a multiplier effect. Doug has some fascinating facts and figures about the multiplier effect. Tell us about the multiplier effect, Doug.
You really like that word, don't you? I can hear it.
Yes.
The multiplier effect is exponential growth or decay. And the simplest way that we understand that is compound interest. It's an exponential growth strategy. If you make a $10,000 investment and you're lucky enough to get 10% interest and you invest it for 10 years, you are making interest on the interest. At the end of the 10-year period, your $10,000 becomes almost $26,000. That's an example of exponential growth. There's another kind of exponential growth. It is the same idea, except it multiplies by itself. Yankee Stadium is a good place to demonstrate exponential growth. Pretend you're at this game. You show up at 11 o'clock. It's a 1 p.m. game. Now, for now, imagine, just stay with me, that the stadium is waterproof and you're sitting at the very top row and you are chained to your seat. That should get your interest. Now, let's suppose we have an exponential water dropper that can release exponential drops of water on the pitcher's mound every second. In other words, this magic dropper drops 1 drop on the pitcher's mound. At 11 o'clock, in the first second, there's 1 drop of water on the pitching mound. On the second second, the multiplier effect works, and we have 2 drops of water on the mound. On the third second, there are 4 drops of water released onto the mound. On the fourth second, there is 8 drops of water released, and so on and so on. That's exponential growth. The big question, Carla, and everybody's thinking about is, how long will it take for the stadium to fill up with water? Remember, you're chained and it's waterproof.
I would say a week. I'd probably get pretty hungry in a week, or maybe 10 days. That's just off the top of my head, my first guess.
Well, I hate to hurt your feelings, but you're wrong, and you're significantly wrong. And but since this is imaginary, it's okay to be wrong. Actually, and this
not
is
the
absolutely
first time, Doug.
yeah. Actually, the stadium will be full by water by 11:48. So you have 40 minutes. Sorry, You have 48 minutes to respond once the first drop happens.
That's amazing,
Secondly,
Doug.
and this is for, yeah, it is amazing. And the second part of it is that at 11:43, you've been sitting up there, you're watching the water start to develop, and you see 5 feet of water. So you have now less than 5 minutes to get unshackled and out. That is the thing about exponential growth, or the multiplier effort. Now, it can be exponential growth or exponential delay. In the same way as discretionary effort in your organization can expand exponentially, so can negative forces gain a hold, and they can expand exponentially, in fact, destroying your organization.
Knowing how fast that stadium would fill up using the principle of this exponential growth that you've explained, Doug, is quite frightening. But when you look on the positive side, you can see what can happen exponentially in your company in just a short amount of time as people start to give discretionary effort on a daily basis, and that's our goal. Now let's move into defining discretionary effort. Look on page 2 of your handout and we'll fill in the blanks as we define discretionary effort. First, discretionary effort is optional. Employees make a conscious choice whether to give discretionary effort or not to give discretionary effort when they start work, if they're working remotely, or when they walk through your office doors. Now this is amazing to me. They unconsciously ask themselves, how hard am I going to work today? When they answer that question, they have decided whether or not to give discretionary effort. The giving of discretionary effort is a free will choice that goes in point number 6, and it is the difference between the minimum acceptable and the maximum level of possible output the individual is capable of giving. And minimum and maximum go in point 7. Doug, you shared with me a time when you discovered discretionary effort when you were working as a security guard, and I think everyone would love that story. Can you tell them what happened to you?
Yes, I can, and thank you. And this is about a very small thing in organizations, and I want to tell you about it. As a security guard, we were an organization of about 700 people, and I had a desk, and I was expected to greet the people in the morning. Well, not just greet, I was there at the desk to do different things, and I had to say hello. That's what I was told, I was trained to do. So I would work at what I needed to, and I would sort of say hello occasionally or not say hello. Most people walked right by me, so it was not an issue. One day, I got bored, and I decided I wanted to do something different. So I got up and moved around and out in front of my desk, and I stood up. Now, that was a simple act that I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was showing respect for people. And I was looking, then I began looking them straight in the eye, and I'd say good morning. I wasn't trying to be positive or negative. I was just showing respect for people. As I started saying good morning to everybody, the strangest thing happened. I started feeling great. I can't explain it, but it was like something good was happening in me. I like people, and I like talking to them, and this was much better than sitting behind the desk. And of course, as I started feeling better and better about myself and what I was doing, they responded. And I only had a window of 1 or 2 seconds with most people as they entered the door, but many of them started saying, and how's your day, or I hope you have a good day, and we started this interchange that was going on. And I got to know the people, and each day I would be able to add one more part to them, and it was like we knew each other. It's really small. Remember, these are very important people doing very important jobs, and all I was doing is stepping up to bat and saying good morning and treating them with a little bit of respect, and that's all I was doing. The strangest thing happened after 3 weeks. The vice president of the company came down to my desk and said to me, I want to thank you. I had no idea what he was talking about. He then explained to me that many people in his organization were talking about the simple act of way I greeted people inside the organization. And that guy took the time to thank me for my contribution to the organization. I was really impressed, and I was really happy because I thought I found some of the beginning signs of how to release discretionary effort, not only in myself, but to others inside the organization.
That's an exceptional story about releasing discretionary effort. Now, if you're interested, you can read the entire story on LinkedIn because we wrote it up and entitled the post, Managers Morning Greetings Make a Difference. And the link is on your handout. Doug and I were absolutely delighted when this article got over 7,000 views on the LinkedIn post. So be sure you go read it and like us for it. So let's continue our discussion about how discretionary effort is manifest. And Doug told you how it's manifest in just saying good morning. But I'd like to add some other thoughts. First, discretionary effort is manifest in the attitude you exhibit, the words you speak, and the thoughts you share. One way to manifest discretionary effort is to come to work every day with a belief in the future and the confidence that you can increase market share, nudge stock prices up, and build a company culture where people can work on a daily basis and be fully engaged in their future, and thus the future of the company. I think discretionary effort manifests itself when team members unselfishly share innovative ideas and give credit to one another. Nobody likes to give out an idea and have someone else take credit for it, and you're not human if you haven't had that happen to you. And one time I worked with a woman who would not share any ideas unless the boss was around so she could look good in front of him. That trait certainly didn't help build a strong team. In fact, it weakened it. Doug,
You're
you
right,
have some
Carol.
thoughts on that?
I do, and one is you're absolutely correct. And what it brings to mind is an earlier statement that you made, where sometimes you have to overcome your ego issues and be willing to give your creative ideas to the group, understanding that your original idea will be out of your hands, out of your control, and it will be formed and shaped into something entirely different that the whole team can buy into. Discretionary effort is a moment-by-moment choice to do what is right and to do it the right way. There's no magic, but the impact is exponential. If you as a leader value human dignity, then you treat others with human dignity. Everyone in the organization has something to add to someone at some time. You see everywhere in everyone, you see human dignity everywhere in everyone, and everyone sees it in you. It multiplies exponentially. If you don't see human dignity in everyone, then no one else sees it in you, and it decays exponentially. No one in your mind at that point has anything to add at any time except you. Now, that's an extreme statement, but it does apply in some cases.
Very interesting, and that leads into the practice of discretionary effort, which is kind of similar to manifesting discretionary effort. But we have observed that the leadership of one and the practice of discretionary effort are intertwined. And to be the leader people choose to follow, you need to develop your emotional intelligence, which means that you understand how to control your emotions and work through conflict and solve problems through dialogue, not mediation. You need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think this is a great statement because sometimes when I drive through tunnels, and like I've been in the Fort McHenry tunnel that runs under the Baltimore Harbor, well, I tend to get a little nervous, especially if some of the lights are out, making it kind of dim inside. And translate this into your work life. It's pretty dim out there where we're going sometimes. And you probably will never have a work day where everyone's thing goes as planned. You know, you made your to-do list and wow, you did everything on it. A day when nothing goes wrong, where stock prices go up, investors love you, customers double their orders, and your employees smile all day long. Well, if you haven't had a day like this, I can understand because they are mythical days. But if you as a leader have the maturity to power through problems and teach employees to look toward the light at the end of the tunnel, you will come out on top. You have to meet your personal challenges with resolve, with a positive attitude, and you have to cultivate the ability to overcome stress. The next point is something I'm even more passionate about, understanding your personality, strengths, and limitations. I've worked for 20 years in this field, and we all have strengths and limitations. It's about recognizing them, and you increase your personal power if you learn to work from your strengths. So as you manage your energy and fortify your character, you are living and modeling discretionary effort for every employee that works with you.
Modeling is really practice. However, you model discretionary effort by living it on the job. Every moment is an opportunity to learn and to see how discretionary effort works. You model discretionary effort by experiencing it first in yourself. You observe it at work and how you react to situations, and you observe it on how it's occurring in the organization. You create a safe place for learning in the organization. That's inside of yourself. You learn, as Carla said, from your mistakes, and you grow. When you create this safe place for you, you create a safe place for others. Excuse me. The whole thing about discretionary effort is you start where you want, and you need to start. It's natural. If you feel the most important thing is respecting yourself and others, that's where we start with discretionary effort. It's a practice. It is a practice that when it becomes a habit, develops personal excellence. And when it's implemented company-wide, it has the multiplier effect that produces organizational effort. Excellence. The practice of discretionary effort requires consistency, continual work, and perseverance until it becomes part of your best practices and the organizational best practices. Discretionary effort is a performance improvement and professional development strategy. When you experience it, you lead yourself. When you lead yourself, you model it. When others see you modeling it, they will imitate you. You become the leader they choose to follow. When they follow you, discretionary effort grows exponentially.
And this picture that we chose actually speaks to me because I think it does represent your professional development. If you read the words there, there's competence, responsibility, accountability, knowledge, and all of these are 21st leadership qualities that we need to have. Now, the basis of the Leadership of One coaching comes from the discretionary effort leadership model that we introduced in our new book, Discretionary Effort Leadership. And as we take you as a manager and any potential managers that you want to register through the 5 leadership competencies, you will learn how to create an environment of integrity and trust, how to show concern for the well-being, security, and physical safety of each employee, how to accept employees as is and help them grow, get employees to emotionally commit and emotionally integrate into your company, and help employees to rationally or intellectually align with the values, mission, and goals of your company. The last level is the ability to encourage everyone to make authentic contributions to your organization on a daily basis. Now, internalizing and implementing these managerial competencies will bring your company economic sustainability. This is truly the Leadership of One.
So I want you to think about joining our worldwide discretionary effort leadership initiative. It all starts with you, and I'm asking you, what do you got to lose? If you are not achieving what you want to achieve, then give the program a try. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to assess the viability and impact of discretionary effort. So give us a call and let's talk. We're in this together.
Our 21st Century Leadership Series begins in January. And as I previously mentioned, this is a 4-month coaching program delivered in webinars, group and individual coaching sessions, plus email and phone access to me and to Doug. You can learn more by going to www.discretionaryeffortleadership.com, the Leadership of One. Remember that you get a 20% discount, so just when you register, just add the code DEMO216. Doug, do you have any closing comments before we take questions?
Yes, I have one. And it's the one thing that I think we have not emphasized enough. When you do what you love, everything is easier. If you have that experience, you know discretionary effort. You know the feelings you have inside, you know the actions that are required, and you experience the outcome. Most of us think we have to go somewhere else and do something different to be authentic and to feel good in our work. We have learned in our research you can do it right here, right now, in your own work situation. You don't have to go anywhere else. You learn discretionary effort on your current job. Once you learn it, you don't have to go anywhere else to be successful, but you can go somewhere else. It's your choice. You have only one person to lead.
Thank you, Doug. And now for questions. So if you have a question, make sure you type it in the question box. And Doug, we do have one question that came in. The question is, what is the difference between the webinars and the coaching sessions? Let me address the webinars, and then you can address the coaching session, Doug. The webinars go over the concepts of discretionary effort leadership and take you through the Ross-Brondo discretionary effort leadership model. So it goes through the environment of integrity and trust, through security and well-being, through social acceptance, emotional integration, rational alignment, and authentic contribution. And we go through all of these areas and help you understand how to implement them and how to start them in your company. So, Doug, can you tell them about the coaching session?
Yeah, the coaching is where the rubber hits the road. It's where the theory becomes practice. That's the place I love to be in organizations. We have thousands of questions and thousands of situations that are different inside the organization. So the coaching is focused on the actual implementation and integration of the concept into your daily work. It's about creating a safe place where you can see what discretionary effort is and how it works. It's about having access to me and you, Carla, to talk about your observations, to learn your best practices. And it's also a place where we encourage, and we've actually set up a system where we can talk to other people who are looking at the same process. It is a place where it's very results oriented. It's very practical. We don't do things just because it's theory. We do things because it works. So we help you, we don't help you. You know the outcomes you have, but we're there with you when you start achieving the results that you want in your organization. It's very personal, it's very practical, it's very real, and it's exponential. Thank you.
And I must tell you that I've been on some of these coaching sessions with Doug, and he is an expert at it. The next question that came in is, what was the answer for number 4 under engagement? And number 4 under engagement is, discretionary effort leadership is the key to 21st century leadership, goes in those blanks. So let's see, is there another question coming in? Oh, here's one that I think Doug would be really great at answering. It says, can you give me a little more insight into what 21st century leadership really is? What are the components of it? This person is asking.
Well, I can give you a little insight, and the first insight is there's not very much out there that talks about 21st century. It's like we're all grappling to go a different direction, with the millennials coming into the workplace with a growing social awareness, and social and economic awareness about how money and resources are being sent, about a dissatisfaction that people are not doing enough to help in areas where we're weak as a society. So there's not a lot written there. I think we have 2 articles, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla. One I pulled out of Forbes that gives you one aspect of what they think the 21st century leadership is about. And then there's another one from McKinsey and Corporation. They lay it out. The essence of all of it, what I'm hearing, is that it's a holistic approach. It's a person as a whole. No longer it's just about business. It's about your entire life. It's about all parts of your life and how they integrate at work. And that shows up where the millennials actually believe that they want to add value at life. They believe that work is an important part of their life, and they don't want to just go in there and work just so they can live. They want to do that. The second thing that I'm seeing is remaining calm and developing the ability to lead in areas of uncertainty and in unknown areas and in unknown territories. So I'm very much seeing that on a very practical level, where leaders are becoming calm in the face of crisis, and they're staying calm, and they're seeing opportunities in it. And that's a new thing. Instead of fighting everything, they're looking for the opportunity, and one of them might be synergy, pull the team together. It might be discovering some brilliant new strategy that has not been evident, but it's almost like the leaders are saying there's a new future here, a new possibility, and we can leverage it. If we can all work together on it together, then we'll get it. Just like my example from the director of the multinational. So not a lot out there, but you can read what you've got, and we think that discretionary effort is not yet understood as part of that. We see everyone starting to talk about discretionary effort, but we think that we're the first ones to be able to take it and put it into a system that we can look at. And that's why we ask you to join the initiative, because we want your input. We want to see how you see it on the job. We want to understand how you see it in your territory, because the more you see and the more you understand it, the more we can all get together and get a hold of what it's going to take to survive and to prosper and to have the organization that will win in the end. That's the best I can do for now.
And Doug, those articles are on their handout. They can go to those links, so the link should be live too. Oh, we had one more question come in. It's a great question. It says, how can a leader fortify their character? I'm going to give you a couple of my thoughts, and then Doug can give us his thoughts on it. But to me, fortifying your character is something you do every single day. It means that you have integrity, which is the basis of our pyramid. And by the way, when we were working on this, we studied a lot of companies, and most of the companies that we studied had something about integrity and honesty and trust at the bottom of that pyramid. So, or a lot of them had pyramids too, not quite like our pyramid, but that was the basis of most of their values, missions, and vision statements that they make in their companies. But when you fortify that integrity, meaning that you do what you say you're going to do, and that you communicate to your employees in a way. In other words, you don't say one thing to them and then turn around and do the other thing without telling them. It doesn't mean that you're not human, that you don't make mistakes, but it means that you talk to them and you tell them about things that might have happened that go wrong. And another aspect of this is that you're fair to all of your employees. And I've done modules before on, is it fair, or is it equal? Do you treat everyone equally, or do you treat everyone fairly? And so there's a lot of questions that come up about that. But basically, basically it's following these principles in our pyramid, because after you make them feel secure around you and make them well-being, meaning that you're not going to jump on them for every little thing they do, and when they know that you have socially accepted them, or I like to use the term accepted them as is, then you start to build this relationship with them where they trust you and they trust what you say, and they know that you're bug out from under them. Those are some of the thoughts that I have about fortifying your character. Doug, would you like to go ahead and answer that, or give your input on that?
That's perfect, and it fits in our coaching program. The person who influenced me the most is Tony Simons in his book, The Integrity Dividend, and what he said was that integrity is in the eye of the beholder. And that absolutely stunned me, and it's a basis of our coaching. It's not what we think our integrity is, it's what our employees or what our people around us think our integrity is. And when we do it that way, what you find in organizations is that often we rate our integrity high and our employees don't rate it high. But as soon as you walk down that path that Tony introduced me to, you start thinking about and asking and finding ways to increase your integrity in their eyes, and therefore you start to fortify your character, because you really are looking at integrity from a different perspective, and you're looking at your character from a different perspective. That also fits in 21st century leadership, where you're seeing an opportunity in either conflict or something going wrong, because instead of shying away from it, you're stepping up to bat, you're recognizing what's going wrong, and you're fixing it, just the way that Carla talked about. So that's my contribution, and that's part of the leadership coaching program.
Thank you. And Peter has made a little comment here that I think is important. It says, fortify your character also means allowing your vulnerability, if I can get that word out, and owning your own stuff, like mental and emotional, because we all have them, I mean, we're human and we're individuals, and you have to kind of own that. Do you have anything to add to that, Doug?
No, Peter said it perfectly. Yeah, Peter said it perfectly. Perfect. Thank you.
The last question, I think that's the last question, unless another one pops in, is what is your pricing structure? And the pricing structure is up on the website, The Leadership of One, and there's a couple of different options there. So if you go look at that, that would be best. But we've given you a really good deal when we give you all the webinars that we're going to be doing for 4 months and all of the coaching program that goes along with it. So we do hope that you will join us there. Any other questions from anyone? Doug, any closing comments again?
No, this is our first time where we've explained it to the world, and we worked hard on it. We really believe discretionary effort is a new leadership strategy, and we want to work with other people on this, because if we can release the discretionary effort in the marketplace, not only does your company win, our communities win, our people win. Discretionary effort is a personal thing where you feel good about what you're doing, and I run into so many people who do not feel good about it. People who feel that they need to go somewhere else to be better and to add value. I think that discretionary effort is young, it's a start, and it'll start when you start feeling better about your job, where you are, in the situation you're at. And it is possible, and we've seen it, we know it, and we feel it. Like that security guard position, we can find joy and happiness and add value in any part of the organization. So let's get together, let's work together, and let's make it work for all of us.
I would like to add, too, that when you sign up, you will get a free copy of the Discretionary Effort Leadership book that we've done, as well as a complimentary assessment that goes along with it, so we can go to some of my passion about helping you work from your strengths as a leader. So I don't believe there are any more questions. We just really appreciate you joining us, and we want you to make the rest of your day productive. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.